The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 38. Option 2. You're happy, but steadily do the extra mile when it's needed, as motivations are internal and not external, like in the previous, first option and thereof. Nothing can influence or destroy them, until such decision is made by you, on the conscious level. All is lost, virtually. Prison, psychiatric hospital, all the unimaginable consequences of those actions, need to be experienced back, by you who made them or where you've had a part in creating, upon others. If you're not killed due to the harm caused, recovery, if possible, usually lasts very long, similarly as the effects of the enterprise which took a toll on you and everyone attached, which last years to a lifetime. 50% of the wealth that came from any of the immoral actions, basically vaporizes, and the remaining half is lost nearly all, without much purpose. You, who passed this way, would ever engage willingly in it once again and would want to repeat the process, to be done by you only, out of perceived necessity. If asked, would you do it, if you only knew about the consequences before, you will reply that it would be the last of what you would possibly do, despite the false/immediate benefits involved. You suffer, but it's irrelevant, because it's not about it. You're focused on learning how to do, in order to get. You understand that those are only temporary circumstances, needed in order for them to become fully prepared, and you will fully accept those, as a part of the learning curve. It might be associated with living in the worst conditions, a great personal cost of pain and private 47 humiliation, vast amounts of obstacles to conquer, lots of thinking and all the plagues imaginable, but you just know that on the end of this road is a light, and when you would pass it, your life would be great, as a result of all those experiences which are not there to destroy you, but to enforce learning in a most suitable and the best way possible. 47 Mostly to be experienced from people who do nothing in their lives. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 39. Perceived benefits. Moderate, average or beyond the average pay, dependent on the job and/or level of your education/skill. Higher and extreme, nearly instant pay, referred commonly to as easy money, instantaneous. Option 1 Hard work that would probably give an effect. Being perceived commonly as a track that could end without any pay/only few luckily succeed, as many have failed 48 miserably. In reality, when you, without the knowledge, want to try something new, commonly with low plan and as you want to do it right, the first time, without the much needed preparation, that is experience/number 2, which is painful and a learning process from the experience, it's a recipe for failure. You've quit before the end of the process/number 2, on the first problem/obstacle/your first unsuccessful venture, not reaching preparedness to handle the challenges. It only validates the need for the process/number 2 and obligatory preparation, who everyone successful self-made has passed. Option 2 49 None. The truth. Easy work that would give an effect after X years, absolutely 50 guaranteed. Consequences. By not engaging into any purposeful action, proactive moral or proactive immoral, you have, what is, an average for the many. It leads to lack of sense in it all and may lead to a suicide, preceded by depression. Life seemed to be good, but only on the beginning. After time, you need to pay the price, in full. Consequences would come after a certain delay. You win in your life and get eventually for what you strive for, independent of what it is/if you only persevere. 48 You've took a credit and are forced to repay it as the business failed, as you had no knowledge over it. It wasn't set accordingly to the inner desires of the soul and you've lacked steam to continue, or it didn't just work out as planned. Commonly you resign, counting on luck in those ventures. Maybe it would be it. Everyone starts this way/number 2. You, who persists this track, will finally hit your inner motivations of the soul. Option 2//number 4.43, for more. 49. You lack the knowledge about the process number 2 or would ever be sure to it, as it has to be earned through effort. 50. By the laws, number 1.11 operating in this reality which realize the purpose of creation, that is God intends it for you. It's the highest guarantee you can get in this realm it's 100% sure, absolute, if you only deliver. It's a law. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 40. Even if your pay would be great and it would be enough for everything, the sense of it happiness would be lost. Life of a misery. At certain point, problems would come that might push you towards proactive acting. Option 1. You might use those experiences, but until you won't establish the works based on your inner drives of the soul, you would do and wear yourself off, to every last undertaking you take. When you persevere this track, you will finally hit your inner motivations of the soul. Option 2. Option 2. You've got in time, all the happiness, joy, fulfillment, money and all what is desired in full, without no conditions attached. You refer yourself as the happiest person alive that lives the dream. You're the true winner, who achieved the desired, due to suffering you've willfully accepted, usually in your youth, midterm and even in your late years, but who enforced and embraced change and was also willing to take risks. You win, are happy and have all, due to work you've invested in the process number 2. Summing up. Suffering is only present for the first 5 up to 7 years, at max, and after this period, when all has been acquired, it turns into a living dream, due to those lessons past, that could be only truly possible as such. It's absolutely guaranteed. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 41. As the only viable worthy approach, presented in this work. Notices. Certain you, due to the lack of knowledge and therefore deficit of possibilities, is resistant to change, but your life has a tendency to spiral. It's not as you might dream of, but you do what can be done in your sphere of comfort or influence. Such stance leads to tensions, powerlessness, disease and suffering general unhappiness, that may last even for a lifetime. You're often pushed to a certain actions, but due to your beliefs, you're never happy or can handle with them in the long term, which leads to all sorts of problems, that have a reason to preoccupy you and force to proactively act. If the tracks aren't stopped at the right moment, usually you die or are killed due to pursuing of the false money wealth. Eventually you end up in a 51 prison, for what seems like a lifetime or is the last, with the need to pay back the damage caused. In option second, the process number 2 is only hard on the beginning, when you're new to it. Later, despite all, you feel like you're living and are virtually stripped out of all that might influence the learning process leaving you maybe a little bit destroyed, but happy and with the understanding, richer in new knowledge, that would prove priceless in changing your life. In perspective, without it, impossible would be to achieve what those prosperous did or to get and reach what those who persevered it, have got currently. The successful, wealthy and fortunate, number 0.1, being completely thankful for all that you were fortunate to experience. If you're reactive, work in your day job, only to get paid without the will to develop yourself fully in it, not acting purposefully after, disasters would strike, problems would arise, where their hidden goal would be to force you, for a purposeful acting and development. If you're involved in an immoral activity, see the next chapter for examples. You get the money first, are unable to experience life at full, but the things would get sour very quickly, you'd get caught, be imprisoned etc. But if you decide to quit, repair the damage done, you would be saved, avoiding even prison. If the change would be significant, see the next chapter. However, the karma would need to be repaid back, fully, suffering caused by you, to be experienced by you, on your person number 1.2. If you're on a proactive moral track, where goals are not set with the inner desires, nothing would be gained from it, except experience, wearing yourself all, probably being as a warning for the others to avoid this path. That is, you would get into a debt that would need to be repaid and probably resign, being highly discouraged. However, if you decide to take the path of the inner desires of soul, there, path of power / number 2, what you truly feel, believe in, what motivates you, what is appealing to you, because you're highly motivated to perform the work, not being worn after performing it, could do it, for the whole day straight, as it doesn't drains you, but gives power etc. When you would pass the sour years, you would become the best of the best and gain all for what you strive in life. All of the paths have their ups and downs, but the only worthy is proactive moral, set with the inner desires of soul. It's the best, finest, brings all, despite the initial pain involved, which is merely a result of your complete lack of knowledge, preparedness. The process would learn you that, totally. Your purposeful effort is required. You're brought to this reality with a fate, that is the inner desires of soul, and if you decide to realize it consciously and do the best of you, what is expected, rewards are awaiting already / but if choose not to or slip on the immoral track, which might occur in the process, you would be severely punished, which might even last a lifetime. 51. The process / number 2, is basically your present time, if you only follow it, winning / instead of proactive immoral path. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 42. Not set accordingly to the inner desires of soul. Set accordingly to the inner desires of soul, FATE. Goal. Pain / cheating yourself. 52. You don't like the job, you're doing it because you must / that is hate, painfulness, but also emptiness, depression and all the other associated with a low amount of moral energy, micro, resulting from the poor work performed. Pain and uncertainty first, then, when the lessons are passed and a certain level attained, love. Typically done to pass by or to have a living. 53. It's like going to a hell and every day is such. Today's concentration camps or work labors. You just do them, because you do them. No effort is felt as in any case of other job. Love comes later, but it's first required to pass a certain mark and you can't find another way of living. Beyond it, you do, because you want, as it gives you drive to wake up every day, striving always for more. 54. They don't wear you in any sense. Work to not work, but to have all, the money, woman, happiness and fulfillment / which can be such summarized as issues. Takes a job agency / contacts or work and probably many disappointments to find any, takes effort to perform and pays off immediately. 55. If employers / mediators are moral enough. Takes time and effort to get on the track, takes time and persistent effort to pass and takes time to perfect, usually 5 to 7 year period. Consequences. Leads usually to nowhere, if no goal behind is attached. Could be laid off in any moment, also due to lack of work. Uncertainty might be present. Leads to achievement in every sense of this word and brings all the desired, the best life possible for you, with the effects dependent on your efforts to pursue and act along those drives. If you decide to pursue the tasks which involve inner desires of the soul, you always have the steam to continue the work given. Without it, you wouldn't last much as you've been created for a special purpose. Know however, that it's not always that you do what you like or love. 52. That is convincing self, that everyone needs to work / if not this job, so what ? Coming to a conclusion, that it's not so bad but in fact, the truth, is never far away. 53. Either from the approach, something has to be done in life / that is to work, to have the money. 54. Which might seem impossible or unimaginable for some, but it's how the things are for those who follow them. In the process / number 2. Yes, work is a pleasure but the hugest one is sharing it with others, which gives you a sense of fulfillment and power. You would one day understand it, possibly. 55. Taking into an account daily / weekly or monthly payments, with an option to get the deposit earlier. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 43. It might be the most of the work, but you're destined to do what is required to be done, at the time it has to be done. You've might not known it, to this point, but you've got certainly tasks which you love to do, without the need to be asked for, and you do them fully willingly? Is it drinking vodka / playing your anticipated game / having sex with a beautiful woman / find it? If you're going along the inner desires of soul, your work is such a willing fullness, but it's even easier, as for instance drinking might involve going to a shop 100 meters / 328 feet away, which might be very draining. In inner desires of the soul, it doesn't cost you in the sense that it's appealing to you and you could do it virtually infinitely, forever. Imagine now, what could be achieved by you if you only were to follow those created for you paths. Would be sufficient enough to earn by you a 100M mark and get the most beautiful partner and be happy / nirvana, number 1.1 for life, all doing what you love, not being in any way tired of doing it, performing it from your own will, not by must or from a necessity. It might be impossible for you now, but it is entirely possible for you as directly as it sounds. Accept it. You only need to know how and have the courage to just start the process. Number 2. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 44. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 45. If you're realizing your fate, you know it, because you feel great in the process. If you were not even to be paid by doing your job, you would still continue it, because of the pleasure, satisfaction it gives to you. E equals Fs plus sigma eta, micro / micro r FRSR. It's an equation for happiness. However, also for all the other searched values it brings, easily could be referred to as the most important equation in the world. This realm. Energy, E, is equal to the output of strength of feelings, F, multiplied by the motivations, S, invested in the performed work, being dependent of the observers. It's a sum, sigma, of receiver feelings, Fr, multiplied by his motivations, Sr, which are caused in any of the receivers, multiplied by the efficiency factor, eta, of the telepathic exchange of thoughts between you and the last, multiplied by coefficiency, micro r, of moral compatibility between you, micro, and the receivers, micro r. Explanation of the equation. It might seem complicated, but it's really not. Increase in the moral energy is associated with having the highest motivations, S. Those are only to be found by following your fate, with which you are brought to this reality. Everyone has it, but not everybody goes after it. Those are merely types of jobs, for which you've been created for, to suit them best, and nobody without such inner desires of the soul can't even match your abilities to perform on such level possible for you. It provides you the drive, because motivations aren't external, but internal, lie deep within you. When you follow them, time disappears, maximum of the moral energy can be generated. Strength of feelings, F, is the amount of physical pain, tiredness etc. and engagement of emotions particular job involves. Those are typically feelings known as the negative side of the emotions, unpleasant, because those positive, that is satisfaction, are felt when the moral energy is released, in time of rest, relax. The last is compressed / generated when you invest your wits and perform the highly moral job. It's typically known that physical work is capable to provide about 5 times more moral energy than a mental work, due to amount of feelings attached. Your amount of moral energy generated is also dependent on the observers. If you for instance do a particular job to just show up yourself, accept lower motivations which would result from it. Those who watch your efforts might spoil your amount of the moral energy generated due to emotions felt, that is jealousy / hatred. The last is being dependent on the strength of emotions felt, Fr, and motivation of the observer, Sr, to punish you, where the coefficiency factor might be affected by the, for example, distance from which you've seen from, eta. Either parasites or people who feel towards you, for example antipathy/reluctance, your work for them, might cause loss of your moral energy. The same is observed, where you're wanting to help those who don't want it/that is your enemies. Therefore, an additional effort in thinking is required to even mind for who this work/help is to be supplied. Those who highly want, desire, welcome it and hold a sufficient moral energy level, micro R, to appreciate, are your usual target group. Interpretation of the equation in your daily life. It has got many repercussions in everyday use. It's best surely to do works who benefit you/others directly in an anonymous way, where there are no observers. Therefore, if you're building, for example, a body mass, number 4.2, it's best for you to train possibly alone, yet only if acquired the required skill and experience to do it safely, as the increase of moral energy would be the greatest, along with your motivations and focus to perform the job. Moreover, it brings many more advantages, as your attention is entirely focused on your muscles, not being distracted by any of the talk with anyone/by anyone etc. Not to help those who don't require help/not anticipate it and aren't truly thankful for it, refuse it to any of the parasites, who only wait to drain you. Number 1.1. Not get with any of your jobs in places/force it to people where you're not welcomed. Highly moral, altruistic 56. Anonymous work, typically of whose efforts invested nobody sees, is rewarded the most. Work aligned to the inner desires of soul/fate is what's rewarding, and sharing it with others. It leads to fulfillment and all the desired in life. It's a personal belief wisdom that is understanding of the author that nirvana and the knowledge on how to attain it is the ever-searched holy 57 grail. It's not an object, as wrongly referred to, but the highest kept information/in essence, revealed in this book. 56 Where you get no personal benefits/do it voluntarily from your own goodwill, aimed at helping others. 57 Being not the singularity device/the Ark of the Covenant/for you it would be too, if you experience it one day. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 46. If there is a reason why you haven't yet reached the dreamed success in life, it's only the one cause: you're not following your fate. Failure you, who wants to make it in life/when you avoid your fate. Achiever you, WHO already made it in life/or would make it/number 2. Reactive. Proactive moral. Primary object of interest/importance. You think, live and speak about everything, but not the goal itself. You've got no goal. You think, live and speak about the goal and do actions required to achieve it, which is the most important thing to you/its realization. In later terms, the last might be concealed, due to lack of people supporting it or the requirement for secrecy, but it's constantly on your thoughts. Main difference. You talk, but not do anything towards. You aren't able to force yourself to think and act purposely, either due to beliefs, escaping, choosing the easy ways, which all leads to parasitism and failure. Not taking the responsibility, control over life due to lack of discipline/other issues, yet also the fear to start, is the primary reason for not following the inner desires and attaching to the surrounding reality. You talk and do, or do without the talk. You think and do. Payment. You aren't able to work without a paycheck for extended amounts of time. You require payment, instantaneous. You're able to work without any payment, because you understand that earning the really desired money requires skill and knowledge, which is to be gained only through experience. You have the motivation for voluntary work, if it's purposeful and if possibly you can reap the benefits from it in future. Past experience. Usually slim to none, due to level of taken risk or limited to jobs where everyone can be hired or the low level of skill required to perform those tasks. You have got some experience due to works performed at your projects, either successful or not, towards the directions of your dreams. Mindset. You take steps, to better your situation using the known or real, believable, realistic, for you, using the opportunities presented or acting based on an acquired already knowledge, rather short-term thinking. You work for the best outcome in each and every project or task taken/you handle, but if you fail, it's always accepted and of little importance, because you believe that due to the level of work invested, you finally would acquire required traits, experience, skill and knowledge, essential to be successful. Long-term thinking. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 47. It's not required for you to know your motives/motivations of the soul as they're known by the laws, and activating the mechanism/number 2 would bring to you the work, where last would be aligned to it, as being the person to do this particular job. However, you can find them by asking the right questions, or you would just know if you invest efforts and would hold an appropriate 58 container. For instance, one's desires 59 of the soul might be that he is interested in all which is important, but there is always attached an additional, emotional reason for the striving. It may be to be high all the time. So, you've got the purpose and the real goal, for which the continual realization of your purpose brings you as a side effect. Similarly, as to the creation of this 60 reality/God's intents. It might appear that the area is wide, but if you would only take a look closer, it's not. Those are the key specific areas, which you've got only the desire to work and educate in. They only consist about 150 fundamental areas of specialization, where you're able to master each one of them on more than an expert level, in the period of your lifetime. Expecting to know what it means to be important, as for each one of us, it's different, might be an issue to anyone who is not holding them. Although, pattern of power arises, and it includes areas who might prove important in the future to further your own survival. Topic of business, money, resources, with all the important elements involved, health, knowledge of achievement, this reality, hidden laws, how to take advantage, etc. In short, basically the contents of this book. The drives are always there. Attaining knowledge, skill and mastering those abilities is relatively easy as you're highly motivated to continue the work, each and every single day. It doesn't cost you. Your life has got a purpose, sense and the deeper meaning. You're living a dream, in nirvana/number 1.1 through work you're performing all time. Whether you would choose to follow your fate, is up to you, but if you won't, you would be forced to, by an increasing amount of events which would unfold in your life to force you for your own development. If you would consciously follow them, your life would become worthy of living, pleasurable and meaningful/ for which probably everyone strives. Money would follow as a result of your highly motivated work. Prepare for that. 58 Intention, in thought, to unravel or reach the desired, where you've attached to it, for a specific period of time. 59 Birth Tarot cards describe them in partial/ look for the right, many interpretations. It has been confirmed that you can find them on your own, also through self-observation/ to better understand yourself. 60 They're different for everyone. Emotional reasons for most might for instance include fucking beautiful women, and everyone has them, not to necessarily to tell them anyone but to know for self. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 48. Due to your high motivations, which are able to be achieved for works only following fate, you would increase drastically your moral energy levels, because now, work would become a pleasure to you. An initial 5 to 7 year mark is required to reach freedom, usually, including the financial one, in your areas of motivations. Take a look below. Characteristics of the moral/life field, number 1.1, Micro. Micro greater than 0.6. Godlike state, the immense feeling 61 of power/love/happiness/belonging etc. 62 Full disappearance of any negative traits of character/explosion of happiness. Being protected and cared of, by others, treated as the VIP without anything required, by the moral members of a society. Attraction and admiration of others, including irresistible drawing of sexual attraction of the opposite sex, opens a burst of unstoppable creativity and unlimited access to the counter matter in its completeness. Full happiness, fulfillment and satisfaction of whatever you've got already, turning every experience/moment into the most pleasurable sensation ever, and many more also. Number 2.2, End. Plus you don't feel any pain, as it's masked by the overwhelming happiness. Micro greater than 0.35. Happiness, well-being, fulfillment and satisfaction. Progressing with rise, predominantly moral, helpful behavior. By listening to this voice, you would only get the best what is for you, possible. If you would listen to this voice only and allow it to enter your reality, the worst would happen. Hard work that pays off with the time delay, usually lasts from few days and ranges up to 3, 5, 10 or more months. Immediate pay, usually no work/little to very little involved. Immediate pleasure, very short lifespan of gratification, usually now, up to an hour, possibly a month or 3 but not more. Reverse. Associated with the loss of micro, creating bad karma, immoral, illegal and destructive behavior of action and thought. Is or might be less pervasive in choosing actions mentioned, but the last depends on the perspective and current circumstances. Choices like, learn, do the job given, go there, do that, might be boring, but you know it's right and those should be done. Choices like, as opposed to the left side, or, go to a party now. Ignore this job. Nobody would catch you, play the game. Avoid to do anything. Nobody is watching. Get yourself time/life on pleasure. Go fuck some chicks. Spend more time playing as life is short and you need to live it maximally. 116 By choosing to realize the actions suggested or convinced to. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 70. Associated with achievement, fulfillment and success in life/including the financial one. In the end, leads to nirvana/number 1.1, closeness to the universal intellect. 117. Associated with moral degradation, prison, psychiatric hospital, mental institutions, failure in life, suffering, pain, lack of financial resources, emptiness, suicide thoughts and attempts. In the end, leads to death. His secretive role is to push you closer to the light, by showing you and allowing to experience the opposite side, therefore, enabling you to actually decide, due to choice you're given and the free will. If you listen to one of them, the latter has got a significant harder task to get to you, so if you follow your inner Satan, it's likely you will continue the streak of downward spiral for a delayed period of time, for example alcoholic/drug escapades, time of rest and destruction. They both work for your good but from a different angles. The first, listening to him, brings in long-term success and happiness but for the short-term pay. The second, if you listen to him, it brings short-term reward for the price of long-term failure. Light represent the godlike state, Satan, darkness, your nature. You must beat your inner Satan first, to get what's desired, associated with the inner will to take or to receive for self. 117 God. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 71. You're required to learn how to use the both voices, as they would work for your advantage, together. It's a challenge to resist the inner Satan at first, because he's very powerful. You should listen to both of the voices because, when they're consistent and working together, they lead to the expansion of knowledge, which is crucial. Know it, used to your advantage. The only real choice you would ever have, is on the level of your thoughts. They can be reprogrammed. Number 0.1. Learn how to use those voices, purposely. Work with the inner Satan through restraint/delay. Continue. 118 Where you're able to achieve more, with this break, than without it. 119 It always does, so screw it, take an additional day more to rest and relax, which serves you. However, stop to forever use stronger drugs like amphetamines, or those who bring the largest unseen harm, that is marijuana/hashish, etc. if your goals don't involve it. Number 2.2 For details that is alcohol is only allowed if you must to intoxicate yourself. 120 They always match your level of skill to manipulate them. As a trivia, it's the best way to learn the best manipulation techniques, although you're required to progress before. Lack of the appropriate brain programming number 0.1 to perform the work given might be the sole reason why Satan wins. Number 2/all. Implement and follow forever. The realization of goal and its completion, number 2, is the most important thing in life. Voices are created to serve this purpose, yet an appropriate ratio is required. Light versus Satan, that is 3-1, 7-1, 10-1, 2, 14-1, 3/best and more, where you listen, for example 3, 7, 10 days straight to light, and you give in 1 or 2 days, appropriately, to Satan. As to relax when working on your goals, which is required for the maximum performance. 118. Make however sure, intoxication with drugs, that might be suggested, wouldn't take a toll. 119 On the realization of your goals / limit the last, to 1-2 consecutive days at max. Mix of pleasure, work, and rest, relax after its completion / side tasks, is essential. Therefore, you perform a highest motivation work, and when the goal is reached, you can spend your time the way you've wanted, return always back to it when you've given to your inner Satan. However, limit activities only to those which don't interrupt the ability to perform work. It's a challenge to come always back to the task after a longer pause, so do it wisely. Delay, just delay the instant gratification. If you want to give in to the Satan, make it tomorrow, the next 2 days / delay, seemingly, infinitely. More of the techniques. Number 2.2. If you're unsure, ask them to provide more answers. Let them convince you you're always in the everlasting search for the completion of your goals. Number 2. You're striving for a situation where they've got nothing to say. 120 Unless it leads you to the last. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever. 72. The most important knowledge you would ever read, implement and live up to forever.